So we're giving thanks tonight, and we're looking forward, and we want you to know that we're looking ahead to 2022. We've got a lot of big work to do here. We're going to mark 25 years of this museum being open, and we got the work of being our community's place to commemorate the 50th from the 1972 flood. And we're going to do all those things very appropriately and very right. And you guys, I think, will be here to join us, right? All right. So I'm going to keep this brief tonight. I've been told to keep it brief, so we'll see how this works. So let me introduce Dr. Chris Heacock. I'm personally very grateful for her leadership. For the past 2 years, she's been our chair of the board. And you know, things work out for reasons, right? Chris was the perfect chair during the pandemic. Aren't you lucky? So would you give her a huge round of applause? She's a volunteer. She's not on the payroll.
Well, it's so wonderful to see everybody here and to be able to celebrate because, like Troy said, it's been, wow, what a past 2 years for all of us. But what's wonderful is that we have you all here. And when we all work together, the future really does look bright. And so things are looking good. The Journey Museum and Learning Center belongs to everybody in our community. It belongs to the young, and it's so good to see young people here, and the old, and everybody in between. And it also is the place where we welcome and educate the guests that come to our beautiful Black Hills. So we've got a wonderful, wonderful museum. And the community is represented by our board of directors. And I do want to introduce the board of directors that are here because hopefully if you haven't already, you'll have a chance to maybe visit with them. They're going to be in the museum as we get the opportunity to go through the museum, and hopefully you can get a chance to say hi. They are volunteers, and I'm going to start with Micah Landy. Where's Micah? I'm in the back here. Micah is the person who volunteered to chair this event, and he's done a fantastic job, so let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Micah. And also his son, who is doing an absolutely splendid job of being Tinker. I hope you all got to meet him. I don't see him right now, but he will. Okay. It was tough to afford him, but we do appreciate the fact that he was here for a half hour for us. So very, very fun. And so I'm going to have the other directors that are here just stand and say your names, please, so people know who you are. So we've got Micah. I know we've got others here. Call them out. Let's see. Oh, I see. Well, here, let's have Mark and Connor and Pat.
I'm Mark Slocum. I'm the director of the Middle East Historical Association, which is the pioneer collection here at the Journey.
I'm Connor McMahon. I'm the curator for the Sudi Museum.
Pat Rose, the president of the board of directors of the Association.
Okay, and as all of you know, Menelus is one of our very main partners, as well as the Sudi Museum, so we love our partners, and it's wonderful. Travis? Okay, thanks. Okay, and Eileen. Okay. Thanks to Eileen. She does a fantastic job with that. I know Brandis is here. There you go. Okay, thank you, Brandis. It's so good to have a representative from Elevate. And there's Corey. Could you introduce yourself, Corey?
I'm Corey. Corey Stevens, this is my 6th year on the board.
Corey's a past chair, and we really appreciate him. So thank you. Yeah, okay. Kelly. Okay, and we're delighted to have her. She's a great addition. Anyone else that I missed that I know some couldn't be here? Thank you also. Be sure to talk to them if you can. And we have some past board members. We have our emeritus we're going to, of course, say our thanks to. But any other past board members, please stand and be recognized. if you can. I think we've got Vikings there. We appreciate. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Excellent. And I want to put a plug in. 2022 is coming up, and that is when we need new board members, and we do have some openings. So if anybody is interested here, let us know. Or if you want to be on the education committee, we're always looking for people because it's community support that makes us an excellent museum. So please let us know if you do. Well, we're very grateful for our past board members, and in 2018, the MARC board, MARC stands for Museum Alliance of Rapid City, we decided to honor and support the people who have supported the museum for so many years and continue to support the museum. They support in various ways, and they inspire us with all the time, talent, and treasure that they continue to give to the museum. And I want to recognize our Emeritus Directors from 2018 before we talk about our new Emeritus Directors that are coming up. And excited to have Ruth Brennan is here. And Johnny Brocklesby, I don't think made it, did he? Okay. Ernest Schaubauer. There's Ernest. Okay. Jim Shaw. Did Jim make it? Okay. And Fred Whiting. Fred make it? And Gary Brown. Okay. Those are our past emeritus directors, and we're very, very thankful for the support that they continue to give and the inspiration that they give. And now we're very excited to add 4 new emeritus directors. And I was very fortunate in that I got to serve with all 4 of them, and I can assure you that the energy and expertise that they provided was amazing, and they are very deserving of being emeritus directors. So they passed on some of their wisdom and experience in interviews with Alyssa, and Alyssa has put together a video for us of the wisdom that they shared and some of the experiences that they shared. And maybe I'll just let them introduce themselves through the video. How does that sound, Alyssa? That sound good? Okay. So, ready to play? Okay.
Hello, I'm Tim Rabin, and I had the privilege of serving on the board of directors here at the Journey from 2013 through, I believe, early 2020.
I am Michelle Thompson. I'm the president at Black Hills and Badlands Tourism Association, and I was fortunate enough to spend 10 years on the board of directors for the Journey Museum and Learning Center, I believe from about 2009 through 2019.
My name is Jim Green. I am a retiree. I graduated from South Dakota School of Mines in '73. Worked in Peoria, Illinois for 37 years from Caterpillar. And then when my wife and I decided it was time to retire, of course she reminds me she never did retire, I'm the only one that retired, we decided to move back to Rapid City, which we did in 2011. And it was shortly after that point that I became involved with the Journey Museum Board, which was a very positive experience for me. I think I ended my service on the board in 2018, I believe, and retired as chairman of the Journey Museum Board.
I'm Donna Fisher. And I walked into the Journey as a tourist after we retired in 2001. And in 2002, an iconic Journey volunteer, Jan Rathman, said, "I know you've had some journalism experience. We've got a job for you. So the answer to this question is yes." I said, "Okay, yes." And then for nearly 10 years, I became the I guess editor is a pretty glorified term, but the editor of Turtle Times, when we had a print publication that represented the Journey Museum. Sometime in there, got involved in a bunch of other committees, ending then with being named to the board of directors. After I served a short term as chair of the board, I chaired the education committee in my final years at the Journey, and that was certainly one of the highlights. So the journey lives in my heart, people.
There are so many fantastic people that I met over the 10 years that I was on the board, whether it was the people I was serving on the board of directors with or the people who serve on committees, and most definitely the staff of the Journey Museum. Everybody's so passionate and cared so much about the future of the Journey Museum. It was really an absolute pleasure to serve on that board and to meet all of those people and to serve with them.
My best memory is anytime that place was just going nuts with all kinds of buses and kids camps were happening and tourists were coming in, and it was just and is a special place.
There were a couple of things that do stand out that I think was important to the board and to the ultimate future of the Journey Museum. And one was the arrival of Troy Kilpatrick. That was necessary, and it was a change from an old approach to the museum to a more modern approach. So I remember that well, and I appreciate that time. Another is the moving of the Pat Madison cabin onto the property, because I think that is so important to be part of the story that's told about Rapid City.
May seem kind of trivial, but it was special for Connie and I because she participates in it. As when I played Santa Claus one Christmas, and there was a small Christmas program at the Journey that we participated in, and Connie was during that event, Elf Connie with her elf uniform.
It was rebranded as a learning center, and I would hope that more and more people recognize just how important is that for our community, not only to keep our history, but to provide learning opportunities for our young people and our visitors that come to Rapid City. So I think that that addition to our mission was just so appropriate. I wish that people understood that if they wanted to learn about their own history in Rapid City and tie their own stories to the Rapid City story, is that we have this incredible research facility here in the Minnelusa Historical Association. And just letting Mark know, and he can look up a lot of incredible facts. So if your business wanted to know its own history, this would be a good place to come.
The Journey Museum and Learning Center is not a one-stop shop. It's not a once and done. It keeps changing all the time. Whether it's the turtle soup crowds that, and they are and were crowds of people listening to amazing things on Fridays, to how the Journey responded to this crazy pandemic and became a cyber delivery place of history and science and conversation.
Everybody in the tourism industry, all businesses had a very difficult time with the pandemic, but it seems that museums have had a harder time based on the type of business that they are and bringing people in. They've had a harder time recovering from that pandemic. So I just think that the Journey has done an incredible job in stopping and pivoting and reassessing what you need to do to make sure that the doors stay open and figure out what you need to do to be successful in the future. So kudos to you and the staff and the board. I think you've done a fantastic job.
The Journey is more than just a static museum display of artifacts. Admittedly, the COVID has kind of tempered back and significantly impacted the availability of the programs and events. But when they return, and they certainly will return, I wish more of the community and the region understood how outstanding those programs are.
It's so important that we're able to tell our story, and the Journey Museum is the story of Rapid City. It's the story of the peoples that came into this area. It's the story of the first peoples that occupied this area. And so all of those things to me are so important. And I would just so appreciate it if the community would embrace this museum more than it has in the past.
I just encourage everyone throughout Rapid City and the Black Hills area to come to the museum often and experience everything that's going on here, volunteer where you can, and just be a part of this amazing resource we have in Rapid City.
What needs to be done to continue to grow the journey. I'm a firm believer, it doesn't matter if it's in business or whether it's in church life, if you're not growing, you're going. So I think it's very important that people keep their eye on the ball of how do we grow here at the Journey and make it even bigger and better. Status quo just isn't going to be good enough for the long-term survival of the Journey.
I think that when you take on the job as being a director of any organization, that it is more than just a courtesy appointment. This is a very important place to the city of Rapid City and those of us that have the privilege of living here. And if you're going to be a director here, I think you have to take that responsibility on, and you have to be sincere about it. You have to be willing to put in some time and effort. And I think that, I also think that people that become directors should support the museum not only with their minds and their time, but they ought to be willing to financially support this organization as well.
Be present. Come, learn, ask, explore, poke around. If you have a good idea, share it. That's what brings the texture and adventure to the museum. Reach for your PayPal account. This place needs a cash flow, and that's just plain practical. Get the checkbook, just do it the best that you possibly can. When kids run screaming through and look at exhibits and dig around in the pit and whatever, rejoice, because they're the future of the museum. And I guess more than anything, help us all make the Journey a place where everyone, every age, every background, everyone sees it as a welcoming learning center. That's what makes it special.
One of the important things about the Journey Museum is that it has two very distinct audiences. Of course, the Journey Museum and Learning Center is a huge part of our community, and our locals are a tremendous part of who we're promoting to and who we want in the museum. We provide an amazing educational experience for them and entertainment. But on the other side of that, the other market is our visitors. And the Journey Museum is an incredible resource for our visitors as well. So I think it's important to remember that the Journey Museum and Learning Center provides a great resource for our locals and also for our visitors.
I guess one final thought is I'd just like to thank the Journey and the Board of Directors for putting in place this emeritus status. It's a very nice thing. It's one of these things that's kind of touched my heart, an expression of appreciation, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Somehow.
Some way.
The Journey
continues.
Great video. Thanks, Alyssa. And thank you to our Emeritus Directors. So let's give them another big round of applause, and please stand. Yay. Yeah. Really appreciate you very much. And photos will be later, and we are looking at a plaque to be in the museum here, a place to recognize our Emeritus Directors that will, an area that will be here in the museum then. So it takes a generous, supportive community to attain our mission. And just a reminder of what our mission is, it's to preserve, educate, and explore the heritage, cultures, and environment of the Black Hills region, to understand our past, enrich our present, and sustain our future. It requires a supportive community, and it requires an absolutely awesome staff. And the past year and a half have been especially challenging, but I've been so impressed with Troy and the staff, both past and present, for their resilience, for their optimism. Sometimes things seemed bleak, but they persevered with optimism, with determination, and I love their passion for the museum. They're very passionate about the mission of our museum. They became creative. Yes, let's have applause. they became very creative and innovative, and a lot of you have seen some of the videos and the different things that were done to deal with COVID and to find ways to continue our mission and to continue serving the community and the guests that come from different places to see our museum. So we've not just survived, we've thrived. And would like all the staff, both, and if there's past staff too, please stand up, and our present staff and any of the volunteers who've helped keep the museum going, to just stand up and let's give them a big round of applause. So all our wonderful staff members who've been terrific. Yeah. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Troy.
Thank you, guys. Community, we've talked about community a lot. And sometimes community is different than what we imagine it as. I'm going to introduce somebody here, people that we didn't know. It all started in December with a big, thick letter on my desk from a law firm. What could go wrong? Tammy texted me, we were closed, and said, hey, you got this big, thick letter from Lynn, Jackson, Schultz, and LeBrun. And I was like, great, what else could happen for us? Well, lo and behold, we opened the letter up, and there was one heck of a gift inside of that. And there was community. There was connections that we didn't know. And so I'm going to introduce to you guys someone who's making a dream come true for us here tonight. We're going to get to see a phenomenal T-Rex here, Tinker. But Mr. Jimmy Nazer, would you come up here, and I'll hand the mic off to you. And everybody shower this gentleman with love. He's quite behind the scenes, but we're going to put him in the spotlight here tonight. So, Mr. Jimmy Nazer.
Thank you, Joe. Thank y'all very much. My name is Jimmy Nasur. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I wanted to thank Troy, very much. I don't know how much y'all know about Tinker, but you'll soon know a lot more about him, and we're excited that he's landed here. But I wanted to thank Troy for facilitating Tinker's acceptance here by the museum, and also to Ray Garton. Ray is not here, but he is with the Prehistoric Planet of West Virginia. He created and delivered and set up Tinker, and you'll see what a chore that is, here soon. But Tinker was recovered in Harding County, South Dakota, as a result of the curiosity and relentless pursuit, really, of Ron Fritchoff. Ron is a friend of mine from Austin, but his team's discovery and excavation was handled responsibly. It was handled with assistance from world-renowned paleontologists, professors, and students from Georgia State University, and we're real proud of what he's accomplished. But the discovery of Tinker was followed by years, and I mean years, of legal wrangling, and that legal wrangling was ably and successfully resolved by the law firm of Lynn, Jackson, Schultz, and LeBrun. And specifically a few attorneys that I wanted to call out here. Well, they're not attorneys anymore; they're judges. So, but Judge Jane Fifley, who's here, and the Honorable Judge Jane Fifley and Honorable Judge Rob Gazinski, who's here, too. We want to thank them for their tireless efforts in understanding and help and in bringing justice to Tinker, because it wouldn't have happened, but for them. But I also wanted to, thank you. But I also wanted to especially acknowledge the Honorable Tom Fritz, who's here. Tom was kind of the captain of the team that made this happen, and there was a time when we were trying to get Tinker to land somewhere here in South Dakota, and it looked like it wasn't going to happen, and he wouldn't stop, and he got a hold of Troy, and ultimately they made it happen, but it would not have happened, but for Tom, and for that, Tom, thank you. Yeah. But the journey for this Tinker replica, ends here, where it belongs, and in this beautiful setting and space, that we're about to see. And it's, where it's really a place where story and science can be, shared by all the people here in Rapid City and South Dakota, from young and old. And I think it'll be here and be sustained by, the community that you guys have put together and support this museum. But I want to, again, many thanks to Troy for accepting Tinker and really for your stewardship, here at the museum. We met last night really for the first time. We've been talking on the phone and emailing, but his passion is obviously contagious, and I'm happy to be part of the community here, and thank you again for letting me share this with you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Troy.
Okay, this is the part where I'm not supposed to talk a long time, right, Chris? Okay. So let's just for a moment, though, let's remind ourselves of a couple things. I hope we remain optimistic. That's our job, right? We're going to be optimistic, we're going to be resilient, and we're going to be innovative as we continue to build the future of this museum for our community. Today, we are safe. A year ago at this time, I was not sure, right, Chris? We had a lot of hard hearts. We are safe, but, we're celebrating your support, and we look for your support into 2022, because as Chris said, 2020 was about survive. 2022 is about thrive, okay? So I need your support. I need you behind us, because we've got a lot of work to do. We got to celebrate 25 years of opening this museum. We got to mark 50 years since the 1972 Black Hills flood. We have a lot of important work to do here. Jimmy, thank you for trusting us to take on Tinker. And we will tell Tinker's journey. It's quite a story. I was invited to the high school reunion last night, so I'm still trying to figure it all out. Let's make sure Joe gets his prop too.
One of the attorneys that assisted the case and very much responsible for making this happen.
Thank you. See, it pays to go on a little bit sometimes, Chris. You get all of the thank yous in. So we do very much appreciate all of you here tonight. It is very special to have an audience here again. We will continue to evolve and pivot. We will have programs in our theaters, and we'll present them online. That's the way it's going to be. We used to think we were a pretty big deal when we'd have a crowd like this here, but the reality is that what's kind of sad is it was only this many people that saw it. And now we have programs that are being viewed by over thousands of people online. We have people joining us from states all around. So Jimmy, you'll be able to watch in Texas when we do Tinker's Journey in January as an example. But we're gonna set this theater up to be a broadcast hub at the same time that we'll be able to present programs. And so things like the pandemic won't even slow us down ever again. We'll just keep moving, because somehow, some way, the journey will always continue, right? There we go. I got it in. All right, guys, so here's the big deal. We get to go into the museum and see Tinker. And so like I say to all the groups, there's no running, pushing, and shoving. And, one of the things, and somebody said it, one of the Emeritus Directors, the journey's always changing. And so, you're going to have to imagine that there's half plexiglass walls with more details of all the dinosaurs in there. They're somewhere in a harbor. So, it's the new 2021, you got things that are kind of there. But I know some of our directors are going to kind of get out into the museum here. We'll kind of lead you guys back in. We've also made a lot of changes throughout the museum. There's been new monitors and educational content. And there's a wonderful new mural in the middle of the Sioux Indian Museum collection that was painted during the pandemic through a grant. We landed a grant from just about every entity out there, and we barely made it. So, but we've been very successful. But I'm not here to talk about all of that all night long. I'm here to celebrate. I know Connor and Erica will be out there. Our board will be out there. But again, everybody give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you for coming out. being a part of the Journey Museum and Learning Center.